Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday, September 8th. Wow. It's crazy to say it's already September 8th. Happy that you're joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about building conversations with your teen. I am Mara Grujanik. I am the Family Partnership Coordinator for Stevenson High School. And I'm so happy that you are here to join me today. So here's a question, sort of just want to throw out there. How do you, as parents and guardians of high school students, make time to connect with your teen? We know that our teens are in an interesting time developmentally. They're impulsive. They want to be with their own friends. They don't really want to be around you. They don't want to hear anything you have to say. However, finding time to connect with your teen is super important at this point in time because they're going through so much. And how do we then look at the fact that they're doing a lot of really fun new things and they're pushing our boundaries because that's what they're supposed to do. They need to know what are the limits of what I can do or can't do. They're exploring new environments and they're having new relationships with the adults in their lives. So how can parents and guardians and families who have a teen who wants to spend more time with their peers than their caregivers, how can we find time to connect with them and find time to be with them and talk to them about what's happening in their lives, what's happening in school, what's happening in your co-curriculars. How can I best support you in doing what you're doing? Because teens are not really good at regulating any of their emotions. And so they want to take risks. It's part of who they are developmentally. They want to make impulsive decisions. That's what they do. And our teens can become very insular and very private. And we need to be able to respect that as the adults in their lives, because we need to know that's not going to really last forever, but it is a developmental milestone that they're going to go through. So as much as we want to say, hey, it's my right to talk with you, it is your right as their parent or guardian, but how can you do it in a respectful way that builds sort of that partnership and moves you from being the manager of their life then to the mentor? Because sometimes our teens aren't going to want to talk about something. Maybe they don't know what you are looking for because you're building that conversational relationship, right? So when they're younger, we manage so much for them and they report back to us and then we sort of continue to manage. But then when they get into high school, we're more of a guide on the side and we want to be able to help them think about the response of the decisions that they're making, think about how they're moving through their life. But that's a gigantic transition from, hey, adult in my life, this is what's happening. I need to get through it. Can you help? Can you manage it? To, hey, adult in my life, this is what's happening, and let's have a discussion about how I'm going to work through that. So our job as the adults is to figure out how to build that healthy, nurturing relationship with our teens, because we know that they are trying to pull away from us and have their own independence. And it really feels like they think that they're the center of the universe, which they are the center of their universe. And so our job is to developmentally be there at this time for them and help them get through what they're going through in a healthy, safe way where we can still support what they're what they're doing. So what the one word that we can use when we're talking with our teens is listen. So teens will put a bid on the table. So they will do things like Today was so terrible, or I'm going through a lot right now. And that's the invitation to you as the adult to talk. That's your invitation to throw out an open-ended question and just listen. Just listen, because what teens want is they don't want our agenda on them. Some teens want to process verbally. They just want to talk it out and just have someone listening to them, because what they're doing is they're processing. They don't need you to solve the problem. They need you to be there to hear the problem. So say if they got in a fight with another student, like, I don't know, just listen. And remember that our teens may be in a huge fight with another individual in their life that they've been friends with forever. And the next day they're best friends again. And wonderfully, that's not our job to figure out. Our job is to just be there and sort of do some reflective listening to them. How does that make you feel? Why do you think that happened? What do you think you can do about that next? Because then you are just being a really great sounding board for them and a really great ally for your student, for your teen in their development, rather than solving the issues for them. Maybe you're just the check-in for them. Maybe you're just the person that they come to in a safe space at home, and you're the person they talk to. You don't have to solve the issue for them. What you need to do is face them, stop doing whatever you're doing, and just listen to them. Or if you're doing something and they come and they start talking, and it seems like they want to talk while you're still doing what you're doing, it's not something that you have to necessarily concentrate on, like maybe you're folding clothes or making dinner, or you're both making dinner together, or you're on a walk. Be attentive, be relaxed, give them your attention, let them know you're still, listening to them, eye contact, and don't interrupt them. Just listen. And don't try to solve it for them. Just listen. Wait for them to finish before clarifying anything, and ask questions about understanding. Maybe it's something academically. Oh, I'm having a really hard time in a classroom. So what are you going to do about that? So what's your next strategy? Try to use empathy and try to understand them rather than solve, and only give feedback if they ask for feedback. So that's all well and good. But we all know that talking with our teens can get to be difficult at times, stressful at times, because it's talking with our teens. And we want to make sure that they have smooth sailing and they're not getting tripped up on anything. But what we can do is, if they throw out that nugget and they're testing us to see, will you really be there with me in the tough times? We can just take a deep breath when we know it's coming, right? And it may not be a topic that we're comfortable with. Just try really hard to take a deep breath and just stay in there with your teen, because our teens are growing up in a world that we didn't grow up in. Our teens are grappling with different things, ideas, thoughts, masks that we may be dealing with as well, but we aren't dealing with them at the level that they're dealing with it as well, right? Please try to not be critical or judgmental of what they're doing. So we don't want to come across as like, well, I told you so or anything, because the goal of these conversations is to build trust. If all we remember about talking to our teens in these conversations that we're mindfully having is that our outcome of it is that we have built trust, that we have been an open place for our teen to come and talk to. We want to listen more than lecture. We want to just be there for them and help them think about when they make a mistake, that constructive feedback, that constructive person where they can reflect back to you and say, hey, this isn't what I thought was going to happen, or I thought I was going to have enough time to get that done. Okay, what are you going to do next? If you want to offer advice, I mean, we have so many more years of experience behind us. We want to offer advice, but sometimes they don't want to hear it. We can say, do you want me just to listen, or do you want me to tell you what I would do? But remember, at the end, what do you want from me? Do you want me just to listen, or do you want my advice? May I offer some advice? Do you want my perspective? Gee, if I were in that situation, maybe this is what I would do. So just kind of opening the door. And if they say no, that's great. Back off, because what that does is, as much as it may be painful to walk away and not give your advice, it builds trust. And what you're trying to do is, remember, trust is the goal of that. So if they do come to you and open up, really good to say, thank you so much for coming to me and sharing with me. Or thank you, I really appreciate it. Try not to let them know like, oh, I was really trying to do something else, because now that we are out of sort of the time when we were all kind of quarantined, it feels to a lot of us like the world is going very, very quickly. And we are just trying to catch up. Oh my goodness, how could I do life at this pace before COVID? I can't believe it. And it may feel like I just need to get my stuff done. If you need that, hey, can whatever you're doing wait for 5 or 10 minutes, because they probably won't talk to you for more than that? Or can you find a time when, hey, can we talk about, we really want to hear what you have to say. Can we talk about this at a certain time? You know your team best. You know if that question of, can we talk about this later, will shut them down, or they will come back, or they will not come back. And so you know your team best. You know how to navigate that sort of making sure that you are not in the middle of something and that you can devote the time for them. Always a good idea, and thank you for joining me for this conversation, to sit back and say, when I'm going to have this conversation with my team, what am I planning to do with them? What am I planning for this conversation? And what happens if things get heated? If we start talking about something that I don't feel comfortable with, how am I, as the adult in that teen's life, going to handle that? Am I a kind of person that can take a deep breath? Should I walk away? Should I do something different? Is it easier for me to be actively sort of listening to my team? Remember, give them your attention, but is it easier for me to attend to a difficult conversation if I am cooking or folding laundry or something where I can hear it better with an objective ear? Remember, you're not solving issues for them. You are listening with empathy. You are listening without judgment. You are listening to try to help them begin to think about how to solve or make decisions for themselves, independent of you, independent of needing your complete guidance. When we reflect back to them, sometimes we are building more trust and building the foundation for longer conversations in the future, and really helping our teens make decisions for themselves. We always say that about 20 minutes a day to check in with your teen is a great time. How are you doing? Open-ended conversations, open-ended questions are always the best. So I want to thank you very much for joining me today to talk about how to build conversations with our teens. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how do we help our teens manage stress. Very different learning environment now than they've been in before, just because it's the way the world is. Not anyone's fault. It's just things, like we said, are happening a little bit more quickly to all of us as a world, we're all coming back out of things, and we're finding different ways to manage our stress, both as adults, and for our teens as emerging adults. So we'll talk about that tomorrow at noon. Thank you very much again for joining me today. And if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm Mara Grujanik. I'm the Family Engagement Coordinator from Stevenson High School. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.